In the words of Sidney Newman, let's get the kids hooked on real history. Hello and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 12, Episode 4, Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, written by Nina Matevia and directed by Nida Manzoor. The story involves American inventor Nikola Tesla, who is unsuccessful in getting investors for his inventions, for he is seen to be dangerous and crazy. After working late fixing his generator, he comes across a floating orb. Feeling endangered, he makes a run with his assistant, Dorothy Skerritt, as a cloaked figure shoots at them. The Doctor arrives in time to help them escape aboard a train that's headed to New York City. The cloaked figure continues to chase them on the train, shooting with a Silurian blaster, but the Doctor loses their pursuer by detaching the car. The group follows Tesla to his lab in New York City, where they are met with protesters outside. In the lab, Tesla shows the Doctor the orb of Thassa, which has been repurposed for an unknown purpose. After spotting a spy for Thomas Edison, the Doctor decides to visit Edison, suspecting him behind the attack on Tesla. The cloaked figure arrives at Edison's lab and fatally electrifies everyone in the room before coming after Edison. The group escapes and traps one of the creatures in a chemical ring of fire, but it escapes by transportation. The Doctor tries to warn Tesla and Yaz back at the lab, but the two are captured and transported to an invisible ship above the city. They are forced by the Queen of the Skifra to fix their ship. When Tesla refuses, the Queen threatens to kill Yaz, but the Doctor transports herself onto the ship just in time. She learns that the Skifra ship is just a collection of stolen parts from various species, and the Skifra just use others to do their work for them. The Skifra also choose Tesla as their engineer, because he was able to discover their signal. The Doctor transports herself, Tesla and Yaz by escaping to Tesla's Wardenclyffe lab. The Doctor warns the Queen to leave the Earth, but the Queen refuses, threatening that if Tesla is not given over to them, they will destroy the Earth. My expectations for this episode were fairly high, as the Chibnall era of Doctor Who really does shine when it comes to the historical episodes. Rosa and Demons of the Punjab from Series 11 were two of my favourites from that series, as they focused on aspects of history that are not often highlighted in the history books or in the school curriculum. Despite being her first written episode for the series, Nina Matevia is no stranger to the world of Doctor Who, as she previously was the script editor for The Woman Who Fell to Earth and It Takes You Away in Series 11. And personally, I felt that she delivered on an entertaining episode that had a healthy mix of both sci-fi and history. Once again, I really enjoyed Jodie Whittaker's performance this week. I liked how we were already in an adventure with the TARDIS crew, as opposed to starting in the TARDIS like we traditionally do. It was a refreshing change of pace and allowed the plot to kick off immediately, rather than get bogged down in exposition. The train chase scene at the beginning was a great way to start the plot in an interesting and fast-paced way. I liked her disappointment at seeing Tesla's lab. She's excited but then underwhelmed because it wasn't what she was expecting. I loved her performance when she was speaking with Tesla, who had doubts about his own ideas in life and dreams about changing the world, but feels it's not going the way he wants it to. I love the way Jodie said, "So prove them wrong." When you think about it, the Doctor has lived a long life and seen things a lot of people wouldn't believe, and the Doctor is kind because it's right and decent. One thing I've noticed in Series 11 and in Series 12 as well is that the 13th Doctor does seem insecure in her own abilities and values as a person, and she always seems to be looking for approval that she is doing the right thing. Like when she stood up to the Dalek in Resolution, she needed reassurance from her companions. Maybe 13 needs to learn to open up to them, especially now with Gallifrey gone and keeping it a secret from her friends. While it hasn't been mentioned since the end of Spyfall, perhaps the Timeless Child is the friends the Doctor makes along his journey across the universe. All the companions the Doctor makes are timeless because they will live on forever. There you have it, that's the Timeless Child. But I forget, if the story arc is a metaphor and not something physical or something from the past, then the entire Doctor Who community explodes because it wasn't what they were expecting. I loved her confrontation with the Skifra Queen. She just oozed confidence and screen presence because she knew she was dealing with aliens that scavenge and steal. The Skifra may have the brawn, but they'll never be as superior to the Doctor because they have genius and intellect on their side. Another great moment came towards the end when she confronted the Queen Skifra, who asked her, "Have you ever seen a dead planet?" No dialogue or verbal response from the Doctor, but everything came from just one single look, and I think the image of Gallifrey being destroyed was on her face throughout that scene. It knocked her back, but she maintained her confidence throughout. It was great stuff, I think. I like how Gallifrey is indirectly getting mentioned across Series 12. The Doctor saw it destroyed in Spyfall. The Doctor didn't want the Earth to be destroyed like Gallifrey was in Orphan 55. And it's a great way for the audience to gain a connection to the 13th Doctor. Gallifrey is something familiar to the long-term fans, so hopefully they will get attached to the 13th Doctor as well, because they may care about Gallifrey as well. The one thing I have to criticise about the Doctor's actions in this episode, and series for that matter, is her interaction with historical figures. In Spyfall, she had to wipe the memory of Noor Khan at the end because of everything she's seen with the Doctor. But Tesla and Thomas Edison, two brilliant minds of invention, step into the TARDIS and are allowed to keep their memories? I know they didn't take anything from the future into their own time period, but even then, how come some figures from history get their memories wiped but not others? Thinking back to other times the Doctor has met historical figures, he's never had to do this before. But I guess that's more of a criticism of Spyfall than this episode. Our companions this week were fairly good. Once again, I really liked Graham. I liked how he kept the peace between Edison and Tesla. The AC/DC line made me laugh. And I liked how he told them that they may be geniuses of their ages, but they should put their differences aside and work together. It was a really nice moment. It linked to the scene of where Graham tells Edison that people in power usually dismiss ideas from employees who they deem inferior, but I think Edison realises that business deals shouldn't get in the way of genius and intellect. I really liked Ryan's moment with Dorothy Skerritt in the TARDIS. They both met someone who changed their lives before everything was very ordinary for them. And small moments like that remind me why I love Doctor Who so much. Life can be so much more when you realise what an adventure it can be, anywhere and any way you make it, and the people you meet along the way. I like how a scene similar to this was given a callback at the end where she asks, "Is this an average day for you?" And Ryan answers with, "Yeah, pretty much." I like how much more confident Ryan is growing with these passing episodes, and he takes it all in his stride of the things he's seen. Maybe if the Doctor's insecurity grows throughout the series and they ask her to open up more, maybe Ryan could remind her how much the Doctor has done for him. He used to be in such a boring job that he hated. But then the Doctor changed his life forever and helped him become a more confident person. Now Yaz, once again, I have mixed thoughts on her. Now one moment I did like was towards the end when her and Edison have to evacuate the townspeople and she started to help the citizens but nobody listened to her. I initially thought, oh, are the writers going to finally remember that she was a police officer and, helps people? But no, that moment is completely dashed in seconds when Edison holds up a paper and starts to cause a panic. Now on its own, that moment where Edison uses a panic to get the people to safety is a good idea, but it shouldn't have come at the expense of making Yaz look completely useless. It's like at the end of Mark of the Rani where Perry plans to use a plant as an antidote for hyperactive miners in the 19th century, but the Doctor says, "No need, I have a potion for our problem that I nicked off the Master." In both cases, the writers remember what both companions' backstory was, but then it's made completely pointless when someone else provides a quicker solution, and it just makes both characters look completely useless. The Skifra Queen even says she's not important, but the Doctor appears and says, "I disagree." Yeah, we're constantly told that Yaz is brilliant, but the writers seem to be actively going out of their way to make it look like she isn't. Again, she's pushed to the side, and I'm really getting sick of saying this all the time. Do something! Looking at the cast list on Wikipedia, I'm surprised how short they were. Not in terms of height, but how few characters there actually were. Anyway, they were all really memorable in their roles, and a great aspect of the story. First off, I'll start with Nikola Tesla, played by Goran Visnijic. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I will be honest, I didn't know anything about Nikola Tesla until I saw this episode, but like the majority of Doctor Who historical episodes, it made me want to look further into what he accomplished in history, because I never learned about him in school, which some may find surprising, but my history was mainly about Henry VIII and World War II. I think he gave a great performance in this episode, and I liked how he could relate to the Doctor about feeling his potential is unfulfilled ever since he came to America, but dreams don't come fast and there's still time to gain the recognition that you deserve. His reaction to entering the TARDIS was also really good. His expressions were grey and fantastical. that's now my reaction to everything positive from now on. I love how he initially walked away from the choice of either sacrifice himself or the world. He spent his whole life wondering what's beyond the earth, and now the Skifra wants him above anybody else, but he can still rise above his doubts and save the world and then carry on changing it. Even if his inventions lead to bankruptcy, he'll never give up, and while history may have left him behind, his ideas will still live on, and he's brilliant in his own way. Garen's performance was really good, and I think he's up there with Alan Cumming as James I and Tony Curran as Van Gogh as one of the great performances of a historical figure in Doctor Who. Robert Glenister was really good as Thomas Edison, and I really liked how Edison and Tesla were kind of the foil for each other. However, for those who don't know, Robert Glenister previously appeared as Salatine in The Caves of Androzani way back in 1984, and I was surprised at how good his American accent was that I completely forgot it was him. Both Edison and Tesla contrast with each other, as Tesla is the dreamer with the ideas, but Edison is the down-to-earth realist businessman. I liked how, as the story went on, his demeanour of the realist businessman disappeared. He saw the inside of the TARDIS and alien beings. He slowly realises that maybe Tesla is onto something with his ideas, and the way Graham tells them to put their ideas together completes Edison's arc. Tesla is the ideas man, Edison is the businessman, and together they can be something so much more than they already are. Rather than scavenge and steal ideas and buy ideas like the Skifra do, they can be better than that and change the world. They resolve their differences, and Edison even offers Tesla to work for him again. It was a really great performance and a really neat character arc. We also have Tesla's assistant, Dorothy Skerritt, played by Hayley McGee. I feel she represented how the average person would see Tesla, an inspiration to us all and how they can change the world. Plus, it's such a small moment, but I like how when both Dorothy and Tesla were reunited, they were happy to see each other, but they kind of refrained from giving each other a hug, because they remembered they are both friends and have a mutual respect for each other rather than love. There wasn't a forced romance in this episode, unlike last week. Finally, we have Angela Mohindra as Queen Skifra. Mohindra had previously played Rani in the Sarah Jane Adventures, and when I heard of her casting, I thought the character was going to appear again, but obviously that wasn't the case. As the Queen Skifra, she made a very memorable villain. The way her eyes pop through the costume show a real terror and almost madness behind the eyes. It's as if the Skifra have waited so long to steal their ultimate prize of Nikola Tesla. Her voice was wonderfully over the top and scary, and she acted really well under that heavy makeup. As villains, the Skifra were really good. Their design was fantastic, and I think they would definitely send kids scurrying behind the sofa, and the scorpion effects themselves looked really good. I liked what they thematically represented in the story. Rather than steal and buy genius and intellect, it has to come from within, which is why ultimately the heroes triumph in the end, because they have the genius and the Skifra just steal and scavenge from other people. Which is why the Skifra lose, because they don't have the brains to change or evolve their stealing ways. However, I felt that if they could represent any animal, it would be a vulture, because they are scavenger animals, but now I'm just nitpicking. They were great one-off villains that served a palpable threat and added substance to the story of creating your own ideas to change and evolve the world you were born in, rather than steal and cause others misery through theft and lies. Though it doesn't stop some people in the world today from doing that. Production-wise, I think this is the best looking Series 12 episode so far, though that may be because I'm such a sucker for history. This is the first time Nida Manzoor has directed an episode of Doctor Who, and she makes a really good first impression. The action scenes were well shot, and I could tell exactly what was going on. I really like the build-up to the reveal of the Skifra. We see them cloaked, which appropriately builds up the tension. Then we see them disguised as humans, and then we get an excellent panning shot of the entire ship interior with the Skifra hanging above them. It just makes Yaz and Tezza look so minute when compared to their threat, and it's just a superb shot. Nida Manzoor will be directing next week's episode as well, and judging by her work on episode 4, I'm really excited for it. The costumes look great, particularly on all three of our companions, and the Skifra costume looked really good in the lighting. I liked how in the majority of the Queen Skifra scenes she was placed in darkness, a hint that these creatures hide in the darkness and shadows and scavenge what is left behind, but they never step out of the shadows and become true geniuses like Tesla and Edison because they just scavenge and steal. The music by Sega Nakanola was also really good. I liked the score when Tesla stepped in the TARDIS and the score became more majestic just at the sight of the interior. We know exactly what he was feeling just from the score and the performance. Another memorable track is when Yaz and Tesla are aboard the ship and we hear organs and strings, almost like you'd hear in a church, as if both of them had stepped into the depths of hell in their worst nightmare. Sega Nikola is a really talented composer, and I'm so glad he's working on Doctor Who. So, to conclude, Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror is an entertaining, well-paced, competently shot mix of both science fiction and history, which shows the true joy of Doctor Who in that it can be anything, as we as a species can achieve anything we set our minds to. After ending on a bitter note last week, I'm glad we were able to see what the best ideas from humanity could offer. Well everyone, that's all from me. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the episode, and Scope boat tro no flow jo ko fo show bo ko fo ro. Mahul.